My name's Lauren, and I'm 32 years old. The email arrived on a gray Thursday morning, blunt and sterile, like a medical invoice you know you can't afford. It was from my father, Richard. The subject line read simply, Distillery Access. The body was even shorter. We've changed all the locks at the distillery and the financial access codes. We no longer trust you. I read it twice. No Lauren, no love, no signature beyond his name, just a corporate execution notice. I took a slow breath, felt the cold air settle in my lungs. My hands didn't shake. I replied with 8 words. Noted. You forgot who paid for everything. Clever, maybe. But here's the thing they never understood. Have you ever been the one holding everything together only to be treated like you were the one tearing it apart? Let me know in the comments, because I know I'm not the only one. It didn't start with a lockout. That was just the end. It started 4 years earlier with a phone call I should have ignored. It was my father, Richard. His voice wasn't its usual confident, authoritative tone. It was thin, rushed, and edged with panic I'd never heard before. Lauren, we have a problem, a serious one. I was a financial analyst, the numbers person in a family obsessed with appearances. My younger brother, Evan, was the brand, the golden child, the one they handed the keys to our family's craft distillery in Kentucky, even though he barely scraped through college with a communications degree. And now Evan, the brand, had driven that legacy straight into the ground. My father explained it in hushed, mortified fragments. Bad vendor contracts, overspending on image projects, unpaid excise taxes, a looming foreclosure. The family name was weeks away from becoming an auction lot. I can't go to the banks, he said, his voice cracking. It would destroy us. It would destroy the name. Then he asked me for help. Me, the daughter he'd always called too rigid, too cautious, too practical. The one with the boring but stable career. He needed the numbers person. But there was a condition. It had to stay quiet. We can't let Evan feel like he's failed, my father insisted. It would crush him, and the community can't know we're struggling. His solution was simple. I could be an angel investor, anonymous, temporary, just enough to get them through the rough patch. An angel investor, that's what he called it. I looked around my 1-bedroom apartment, at the thrift store bookshelf and the car payment reminder on my fridge. I wasn't an angel. I was just a woman with a decent salary and a lifetime of craving their approval. And I said yes. I agreed to wire $7,000 every single month to an account he set up. The operating loan, he called it. People always ask me now why I did it. Why would you bankroll people who never respected you? It's a fair question. But they don't understand the psychology of being the survivor child. When you grow up in a house without bars but full of rules, you learn that love is transactional. You're not praised for being you, you're praised for being useful. Your worth is measured by what you can fix. That invisible contract is the hardest one to break. You spend your whole life waiting for the final test that proves you belong. This was my final exam. I believed that if I saved them, they would finally see me, that my sacrifice would earn me a seat at the table. I wasn't just sending money, I was buying hope. For 4 years, every month, I sent $7,000. I delayed buying a home, I skipped my car into the ground, I skipped vacations and told myself it was temporary. I told myself the pride in the family legacy was partly mine. I was the silent backer, the unseen savior. But I forgot the most important rule of being an angel. Angels aren't meant to live on the payroll, and they're certainly not meant to discover they're being mocked by the people they're trying to save. The disrespect didn't arrive all at once. It came in small, precise cuts. I tried to be more than a check. I sent cash flow models, cost reduction strategies, market forecasts. I was a professional offering professional help. Evan's replies were always the same, wrapped in polite contempt. These spreadsheets are cute, Lauren, but I'm the one running things. You just focus on funding. I'll handle strategy. I wasn't invited to meetings. I found out about expensive new equipment purchases through social media posts. When I asked my father why I wasn't included, he told me not to rock the boat. Evan has it under control. It's about the image. I had become a ghost funding my own erasure. The moment everything snapped didn't come with a fight. It came quietly on a Tuesday night. I was balancing my own budget, feeling the familiar strain of that monthly transfer, when my phone buzzed. An email from my mother, Janice. The subject line read, "Investor Luncheon Details." I froze. No one had mentioned an investor luncheon to me. I opened it. She'd forwarded the wrong chain. I scrolled past her note and found the original message. It was from Evan to my father. "Dad, the angel is getting noisy again, asking about Q4 numbers. Let's just use this dumb luck money to keep us afloat. She doesn't need to be involved in the luncheon." My stomach dropped. Dumb luck money? But the reply beneath it stopped my breathing. My mother's response to my father, accidentally sent to me. "Just manage her. Thank her, but do not invite her. This luncheon is for real investors. Make sure the money keeps coming. She's a guest with a wallet, not a partner." A guest with a wallet. It wasn't an insult. It was a job title. All the sacrifices, the years of loyalty, the belief that I was helping my family survive, it evaporated in a single sentence. I wasn't family. I was a funding source. I wasn't an angel. I was a mark. The illusion didn't crack. It vanished, and in its place was something colder and clearer than anger. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and watched my hand. It was perfectly steady. I wasn't emotional anymore. I was finished. The guest with a wallet had just received her final invoice. So I got to work. I didn't call my father. I didn't text my mother. I opened my laptop and created a new password-protected file. I named it the Custodian's Ledger. I didn't sleep much that week. Sleep felt indulgent. I had something more important to do. The narration in my head wasn't emotional anymore. It was clinical, precise. 4 years of my life. 4 years of manipulation, reduced to data. I documented everything, line by line. Every single wire transfer, the $7,000 monthly operating loan. I watched the total at the bottom of the spreadsheet climb. $100,000, $200,000, $336,000. Line item. Every condescending email from Evan, the ones where he called my projections cute. The one where he dismissed my concerns about a new bottling system by telling me, "Leave the strategy to me, Lauren. You're the numbers person." I saved them as PDFs. Line item. Every placating text from my father, the ones he sent after I questioned large expenses. "You have to trust the process. Evan understands the brand. We'll make you a real partner soon." 4 years of promises, 4 years of condescension, and $336,000 worth of receipts. But the ledger wasn't the weapon. It was just ammunition. I needed leverage, real leverage. My thinking shifted from accounting to strategy. The distillery itself, the land, the brand, it was all just an asset. And the detail they'd all conveniently forgotten was ownership. The distillery wasn't technically owned by my parents or my brother. It was owned by a holding company set up decades earlier by my grandfather, Walter. My parents and Evan were just board members with management roles. Walter, now 82 and living quietly in Arizona, still held the only voting share. He was the true owner, the builder, the one person in my family who valued substance over performance. I waited until every file was saved, every screenshot organized, every number verified. Then I picked up the phone. He answered on the second ring, his voice steady and warm. "Lauren, it's good to hear from you." I didn't waste time. "Grandpa, I need something from you. I can't explain everything yet, but I will, I promise."
There was no hesitation. "What do you need?" "There's an investor luncheon on Friday. I need your proxy vote. I need your share." Silence followed. Not resistance, just thought. I imagined him sitting by the window, looking out at the desert, weighing the request. He knew me. He knew I wouldn't ask unless it was necessary. "It's time, isn't it?" he said quietly. "Yes, sir, it is." "All right," he replied. "I'll have my attorney send the documents." That was it. No questions, no lectures, just trust. When I hung up, I looked at the custodian's ledger glowing on my screen. The trap was set. All that remained was patience. And that brings us back to the email. The lockout wasn't random. It wasn't cruelty. It was panic. My father's words, "We no longer trust you," actually meant,
"We just realized you're dangerous." They'd been notified of the proxy transfer. They knew the guests with the wallet now controlled the building. The lockout wasn't punishment. It was a failed corporate coup. They were trying to bar the real owner from the premises. After I sent my reply, my phone didn't just ring, it exploded. First, my father, I let it go to voicemail. His message wasn't paternal, it was executive. "You will call me back immediately. You are not an investor, you are family. You will not embarrass us at that luncheon." I deleted it. Then Evan, text after text. "You're not invited. Stay home. Dad is furious. You're tearing us apart." I almost laughed. An employee trying to ban the majority stakeholder? Then my mother tried guilt. "Please don't do this. Your father is under so much pressure. We can talk later. Be the bigger person." The family slogan for silence. I looked at the chaos on my screen and felt nothing. For the first time, it had no power over me. I put my phone on silent. I walked to my closet and pulled out the sharpest suit I owned, charcoal gray. I put on the watch my grandmother had left me. I didn't dress for a celebration. I dressed for a takeover. I checked my reflection. I didn't see the angel investor. I didn't see the guests with the wallet. I saw someone with documentation. My phone buzzed again on the counter. I slipped it into my pocket, picked up my briefcase, and left. Inside was my laptop, a printed copy of the custodian's ledger, and the notarized proxy vote. The drive to the distillery took 2 hours. I didn't turn on the radio, I just drove, reviewing numbers. $336,000, $58,000 in misappropriated funds, 1 voting share. They were expecting emotion. They had no idea they were about to meet accountability. The room fractured when I walked in. I saw my father, Richard, near the main tasting table, his face flushing a deep, uneven red. My mother, Janice, mid-laugh with another investor's spouse, froze her smile like a cheap mask glued in place, and Evan just stared. I watched his confidence drain in real time, the golden child suddenly unsure of the script. They were furious, but this wasn't our living room. This was their stage, surrounded by donors, partners, and people whose opinions mattered. They couldn't erupt, so they did nothing. They just watched as I, the uninvited, untrusted problem, took a seat at an empty table in the back. The luncheon unfolded like theater. My father stepped up first, delivering a booming speech about heritage, resilience, and the strength of the family name. He spoke about weathering challenges and emerging stronger, about vision and unity. Then he handed the floor to Evan. Evan soaked in the polite applause and clicked through slides full of vague projections and buzzwords. At the end, he raised a glass of branded bourbon and smiled. "I'd like to make a special toast," he said, "to our anonymous angel investor, wherever you are. Your naive belief in us made all of this possible." The room chuckled. My father beamed. My mother dabbed at her eye. I waited until the laughter faded, then I stood. Every head turned. I caught my father's sharp shake of the head. "Sit down." I didn't. I walked forward, my heels echoing against the floor, straight to the podium. Evan looked at me like a golden retriever confronted with calculus. "Thank you, Evan," I said evenly. "I'm here, and I'm glad you find my belief naive." I didn't wait. I unplugged his laptop and connected mine. "My name is Lauren," I said, my voice steady, "and I am the angel investor who has personally funded this distillery for the last 4 years. The screen lit up with the custodian's ledger, 10 feet high. I call it naive belief. I call it a $336,000 investment. Silence fell hard. I clicked forward. This is the record of every wire transfer I sent to keep this business afloat while my brother played brand ambassador. Evan lurched, but my father grabbed his arm. I was told my analysis was cute. I was told to stay out of strategy. I was informed I was just a guest with a wallet. I projected the email. My mother's words, "Make sure the money keeps coming," now filled the screen. Janice made a small, broken sound. Richard looked physically ill. So as the primary stakeholder, I'm here for the quarterly report I was never invited to. Before either of them could speak, another voice cut through the room. "Thank you, Lauren. I'll take it from here." My grandfather, Walter, stood up from the back. He'd been there the entire time, unnoticed. He moved slowly to the front. I stepped aside. He didn't look at his son, he didn't look at his grandson, he addressed the investors. As the sole voting owner of this holding company, I am initiating an immediate forensic audit of the distillery's finances. He turned to Evan, who had gone pale. It appears belief wasn't the only thing funding this operation. My grandson has confused an investment with a personal slush fund. My mother screamed. The audit shows $58,000 siphoned from operating accounts into a private offshore account in Evan's name. Everything collapsed at once. Evan staggered, gripping a table. Janice sobbed openly. Richard stood frozen, watching his legacy disintegrate in seconds. It's strange to witness something like that. I realized the difference between having and being. My family had everything: name, land, reputation, but it was all a costume rented with my money. When the funding stopped, nothing was underneath. They weren't a family falling apart. They were an empty wallet finally exposed. I run the distillery now. My grandfather handed me the keys the next day, not as a gift, but as responsibility. We're rebuilding it with transparency and integrity. It turns out the real legacy was never the brand or the land. It was the honesty no one else was willing to protect. And if you're listening and you've ever been made to feel like an outsider in your own life, this is for you. Stop waiting for permission. Your worth is not measured by how useful you are to people who refuse to value you. Draw the boundary. Change the locks. Be your own angel investor. If this story resonated with you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and comment below with your perspective or the lesson you're taking away.